He was. I showed him my previous video that I made, and he just asked me something about desire and why there's an element of desire, and I felt like I had to go back to the beginning. That's what the root was. So I was just telling him that when I was younger, especially when I moved to London, I was about 17 or 16, and coming from a really strict family, it's things are already quite restricted, but especially when you move to a different country, it's worse because people here have more freedom, and therefore my parents knew that I may be more likely to do things here that I'm not supposed to than when I was in Italy, when people are free, but not as much as here. When I say free, I mean just generally teenagers, especially and young people. So when I moved to London, it got quite worse because I was going to college and I was living at home, and it was about 15-minute walk. But each time I went home, it felt as though all I could see was just through my window, and that my room was all that I had. And I would go to college and I would go back home, and I wasn't really allowed to go on the high street either, because in case someone saw me, I was living in East Ham, and there was a lot of people, like Asian people, and when I say Asian, I mean Indian or that sort of people. And so anytime I went to the high street, I'll be quite scared and try to hide myself behind people so that nobody would see me that knows my parents. But I also know that our old neighbors, again in East Ham, they were the sort of people to see me, and if they saw me, they would tell my parents that they saw me with a guy, or they saw me with guys, so girls of a certain kind, if they're wearing any like short clothes. And because I'm not allowed to be in that company. And once my dad even said, I will come and see, I may come and pick you up to see what I'm up to, but he wouldn't tell me when, just to see if I was doing anything wrong. So at that time I only desired to be a bit more free and have social contact with people. So I would have I had a phone, but it was one of those old phones with keyboards, I think. So that was only allowed to have when my parents. I only had my parents' numbers, and when I went home, it will have to be on the shelf. So if anybody contacted me, my dad will ask me who that is and how did he get my he or she got my number. So I only had my email, what I used for my college, to contact my tutors. So I started using Facebook before that when I was in Italy, and I was found out by my mom that I was using it, and I deleted it. But then when I was in London, again I had it, and it was my only way of connecting to people, talking to them. My dad, one day, he found out that I had it, and he made me delete it. And I just thought that it was the end, because it was a big thing. He saw the chats with people, and he took the phone away and he said, "You're gonna delete this." So I deleted it, but then I changed the password and I still kept it. Don't think he found out the second one, but he found out a few times before. So I created quite a few profiles. I had some numbers from my friends from Italy, but they were my mom's phone. So every time I wanted to speak to them, I'll take her phone and I'll chat to them, and then I'll give the phone back. So there was barely any contact. If I went to Sainsbury's, then my little brother, he's 6 years younger than me, he'll have to come with me to the shop. My dad just didn't trust me to even go there.
I'll just stop you and say it's all good, but you could just slow down a bit, because someone's going to have to listen and take it in. So I know you speak quite fast, but just like the thing about going to Sainsbury's or something, or one of the episodes, or just say it, just breathe.
Okay, I didn't want to bore you with it.
Oh no, you're not boring me. You're not boring me at all. No, but it's just I'm just thinking about the listener. That you're just sort of
okay,
and you might want to just start.
Yeah, as long as you're okay with it, then I will
fine.
slow down.
Yeah. No, but you just slow down and take your time, breathe, give a pause, and carry on. I would.
Okay. So yeah, we'll just go to Sainsbury's. My brother will come with me, and even if I went to the high street, then he had to come with me and then come back. And then at one point I felt like I was adhering to mainly my dad's rules, and I wasn't getting anything out of it. And there was an abusive situation going on at home, which my mom wasn't aware of, and I was keeping it as a secret, and then at the same time respecting my dad's rules, but there was nothing. There was nothing good coming out of it. So the college that I went to, I found out they did counseling. So one day I just went and spoke to someone. But at the time I didn't know that everything you say will be used. So you have to be careful about what you say. So the first time I saw them, I just used my email to make an appointment so that my parents wouldn't find out. And then the first time I didn't say much. The second time I said exactly what was going on since a very young age. And then they contacted home and social services and stuff. But it was one of those moments when I thought that everything was going to just end, and it was almost as if the world just crashed, because I thought I wouldn't even dare leaving the house alone, and suddenly I do this, and it's a huge step, and it's something out of character for me to do from my parents' point of view. But it happened anyway, and I didn't go back home in that house since then. I went into care after that, and I didn't really have any friends, because I didn't know who to contact, since there wasn't any friends' numbers in the first place. But my carer was nice. I didn't speak to my mom for at least 3 months. I changed my number. I blocked her. And not because I hated her, but because I thought that she may not believe anything I say. And I was afraid that she may be angry instead of asking me why it happened and what happened. And then after 3 months, she was sending me letters and she was sending me money. And she was asking me to come back home. She sent me money and be like, oh, if you need any clothes or anything, here's some money. But I would never return any of them. They were always given to me from my, the social services people. After 3 months, I went to see her, and it was really strange, because she just felt like, why is there a woman with you taking me to see you when you're my daughter? And then after that time, I saw her a few more times, and during that time I was living next to Westfield, so I just found it quite fun to finally have freedom and being able to just walk out. And I kind of explored that time to dress how I liked, and started buying new clothes, cutting my hair, and just walking around the streets, which felt quite freeing and something new. So I just spent hours like that, and there was one person that the day that I went counseling the second time in college, I just knew that he may be someone that I can trust. So I suddenly took his number, but he wasn't aware of why I took it. So him and someone else will come to visit sometimes, and I had to tell them what happened. I had no contact with my dad, and after that, I had to go to the police and tell them, I don't know what you call it, maybe a testimony, but this sort of reminds me of it because I had to do it twice since the first time they said it, you don't look sad enough, so you have to do it again. And I just felt as though I was sad enough for long, and now I don't have any tears left to cry while I'm telling the story, but they just wanted more emotion on my face. And I would go, it was just strange, I would go to the same college, and I knew that my mom lived just not far away from where my college was, so I'll always be in touch with my carer, and it was really almost hiding in the college, making sure that nobody would see me, and then go back home. I know that they weren't allowed to come there, but knowing how I lived, and then that, it was so different. I was supposed to stay home, go back home, and now I was in power in a way, and telling them not to even see me and stay away from me, which I didn't like. And then I never spoke to my dad since then, and that was when I was 17. And I never stepped into the house. They had to sell the house and stuff. And when I turned 18, I had the choice of going and living somewhere else or staying where I am. Living with other people as a care leaver, or going back to see my mom. And I've had the responsibility to go and see her and live with her because she was just by herself then, with my little brother. So I stayed there for, I was in college at the time. I was doing 2 years of college. I finished my first year of business that I was doing, and then I moved to a different college, and I went to study art and design. And then it was okay, but it was, going back home was just a reminder of what happened, and especially knowing that the reason why my family was the way it is now, it's because of what I did or what I said, and just knowing that my family isn't like a home anymore, and it's just shattered around, and there's lies and there's secrets between us. I stayed there for a little bit, but then my mom had to move away near Manchester, so I spoke to my social worker, and I said I wanted to find a way to not go, but at the same time not disappoint my mom and say I don't want to live with you. So I used college as an excuse to stay in London, and I went to live with other care leavers in London before I moved to uni, and I thought it would be nice, but I didn't realize how some people can deal with things better or worse than others. And everybody was there for different reasons than mine. Some people just because they didn't want to live home, and one of them in particular, she didn't get along with her mom, so there would be all the time I never drank or done nothing, and she would always invite guys over, and they would be drinking and smoking. There would be one girl and like 3 guys in a room. At night time, I remember once they offered me, I didn't know what it was just a pill with an underground sign, and then now I know what it was, but at the time they offered it to me almost as if it was a candy, like, hey, do you want to try this? And they'll be drinking all night, and they drag the dog in, which is something that is not allowed in a house there. So one day finally I was able to get them out, they caught them there, and took the dog away, and they took all the guys away. But then I started uni, and it was quite a relief to know that I was getting away from it. And I thought, everybody said that it's going to be really nice and it's going to be really good for me. Until the end, I wasn't sure. Also financially, I wasn't. I couldn't get the maintenance loan, so I thought, how am I going to be able to cope with it? And the social services wouldn't help with it. It just said, that people deal with go to uni without, and they work part-time, and you can do that as well. But I was just grateful that I had the chance to go to university, seeing as in the past I used to just draw at home. There was nothing else much I had to do other than study, get good grades, and I just liked portraiture. And I wanted to go to college, but I knew that I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if I was there. So being here, being where I was, and then being able to go to university was a big thing. And I managed to get in despite not having certain qualifications that I needed, certain GCSEs and A-levels. But then first year was very different than what I thought. I was quite trusting of people. I got into a relationship when I was about 18, 17, when I was still living in care. And I thought that I never had a relationship, and it was someone that gave me what I thought it was love and care and attention that I never had before, even from my family. So I was still with that person when I went to uni. But things didn't go very well. I used to be really, really open to people in my flat, and one day I ended up telling them about how my boyfriend doesn't like it when I go clubbing or I'll go out drinking. He doesn't trust me, and I never been around that clubbing scene, so now that I was doing it, he felt quite insecure more than he did before, which is something he was already non-trusting, and used to ask me to delete guys' phone numbers from my phone. And even if I was talking to them in college, he'll ask me who that is, why is it so. But I thought it was quite acceptable because that's what I was used to anyway. I couldn't speak to any guys even when I was at home. I had to keep my phone open and be quite isolated, so it kind of felt normal, and it felt like I was doing it for a reason, to stay with someone, just like I did with my dad, to keep the family together, or reputation, which is a big thing, especially in Indian families. And one day we went out clubbing, and someone made a video of me, and they when my boyfriend first came to see me, they shouted at him that I was dancing on another guy's dick and that they should see it. And I was really, really drunk, and I started to have a full-on argument with him in front of the halls, and there was 3 girls gathered around trying to take him away, and I don't know what they wanted trying to say to him, but just that I was the sort of person to be around guys, and if he shouldn't be with me because I guess they just knew what to say, what his weak points were, that he was jealous and insecure about me being there, and that's exactly what they said to him. After that, we still stayed together, but I had to move out from the flat. I was being accused of stealing lemons and orange juice from the fridge, and they were accusing him as well. One instance, I remember the morning after, they said that someone took some juice, and then it was 7 of us living in the flat. 2 people, one person came in, and then second person came in, and all of them were in front of my room saying, it was you, it wasn't either of us. So I had to kind of shut the door and ask to move out afterwards. The video, I didn't know if it existed or not, but it was just really strange because it felt as though I didn't have the high school experience, and felt like I was in high school, and then there was rumors circulating around the flat and I wasn't sure who knew what. So when I was walking and going into a flat, I was thinking, do they know what I did, or are they friends with my flatmate? When I moved flat, it was okay the first year, but me and my boyfriend at the time, we were still together, and the way we would cope, we just drank a lot, and then we ended up arguing, and him asking me, accusing me of sleeping with my flatmates. If I was ever out, I'll have to lie or go home early, and I didn't really have much going on with people in the university either, because every weekend it was spent with him, and it was something that I had to hide from my mom as well. So I had friends, but not really close friends, because every weekend was spent there, and during the week I'll stay away from any nightclubs or pubs, which is English culture. That's how people make friends and how people actually go out. Not that I totally agree with it, but that's what our first years do. And then second year it carried on like that. I was in a slightly better flat, but things with my boyfriend got worse. He started accusing me again of having of sleeping with my flatmates or fancying them and being jealous of their girlfriends and so on. So each time we would be in the room, there would be my flatmate next door, and my boyfriend would get annoyed about his voice and the noise he was making, and it would end up pretty bad, shattering glass and throwing stuff around and breaking each other's presents. Once I made him a handmade bracelet, and I think he was angry in the accident he did this. He said he didn't do it on purpose, but it all broke down, and I got really mad, and he had a little mug with our picture on, so I grabbed that and threw it against the door, and suddenly I regretted it. I tried to put the pieces together, but it was too late. There was a little cake, I scrunched it, and it was just a moment of regret, like, why did I do that? It wasn't the cup's fault. I wanted to keep that memory together, and I still have the pieces, but it's not going to be together. And he never gave me a cup, and I never gave him another bracelet. And there was instances where it would be so loud that my flatmates would get annoyed, and I thought...
So loud?
So loud. And I thought that my flatmates have a bad image of me because of that. They see me as the loud person or who brings people in, and looking back I understand why they would think that. And then I always say this is not going to happen, but each weekend it would end up happening. Anywhere we were, we'll just have a bottle of vodka and drink half of it each, and then smoke just to not avoid any talking, and you'll be reduced to just being intimate, smoking and drinking together, and not being in public, because I was afraid of him thinking that I'm looking at someone, at a guy, or if I'm dressed short, he'll say, are you dressed because you want to be seen? Or I remember when it was winter, it was better because I could put my hood on, and every time I spoke to any male, especially a group at uni, I'll think, oh, what if they see me now and they say hi to me? He will know that I know them, so I'll just cover my face with a scarf and a hood and go somewhere where there's not many people. And then finally, third year, I managed to get away from it, not willingly, but it was just got really bad, and he said things that I didn't. Finally, I thought it was too much, and then I broke it off, and I thought that now I'm finally actually free, not completely from my family, but at least from that, and I thought that's what I wanted. And a few months later, it just felt like it just actually felt like being as if a drug addict is getting off a drug, and they think it's okay, but then I had to keep going back to it, and I would get really desperate. And the whole summer I was living at Farley Park, so there was no one there either. So I call him, I text him, hoping that he'll respond, but he was he was just mad at the fact that I left him. He thought I cheated on him. So I went to, it was like 5 hours away. One morning at 3 a.m. I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore, so I jumped on the train and then the bus. I went to his house and I waited until 1 p.m. for him to respond. And he finally woke up and he saw me in his garden. And thinking back to the extent that I went, but he still wouldn't agree to see me again because he thought that I cheated on him, and that's why I left him. Whereas he never understood why I actually left him. He would never see my side, and I would never see his side. And then months later, every time I'll go out, I will think, oh, finally I can enjoy myself with my friends the way I wanted to. But yet I'll end up drinking and being upset and calling him. So going out become a way not to think about it, but it did the opposite. But now slowly it's coming to the point where I can actually go out and enjoy myself without needing to contact him or anyone else. Although still, when I go back to see my mom, it still feels like a trap in a way, because it's like a responsibility, my responsibility, because my family isn't the same as he was, or what he would have been if nothing has happened. They would be still in the house and working, and my brother would still see his dad every day, and he wouldn't have to question it. So going back, it feels like there's something quite dead about it. The whole atmosphere. Talking to my mom feels like I have to avoid certain topics, such as my future, or are you working, or what are you studying. But it still feels better than before.
It's very brave to go back.
But I couldn't leave my mom. My family doesn't know what happened. My family back in India. So every time they call her, she used to have to lie about where I was. And for me to be living away from home is it's not acceptable as a woman to be living away from home unless you're married. So that's, you always have to justify yourself with work or education. They can't be just enjoyment, or I don't know, she lives away because she wants to. They'll think, what's wrong with living at home? Oh, so she wants to do other things that you wouldn't approve of. And that's a chain of thoughts and things that people say to each other. And as much as people say you shouldn't care about what other people think, it does affect people a lot, especially in those countries where reputation is such a big thing, that if it's destroyed, it actually destroys the person. If the person's image is destroyed, it's quite a big thing to deal with. So it's about trying to keep everything together, and trying to act like nothing happened when we go back home. But hopefully things will get better after I finish uni. I think some things have really gotten better, getting out of a relationship that kept me tied down, or a pattern, and just hoping to not get into a new one, and not let it affect everything I do, which it has done so far, and just be more independent, and by myself. I think it's really important to be independent, for me to not feel responsible for anything. I think once you're there, nobody can take that away from you. If if after uni I wasn't able to find a job or a place to stay, then my parents or anyone could ask me to return back because there's a weakness. But if I was able to just to stay on my feet and stand on my feet and have a life of my own, then nobody can ask me to leave that because it's mine. And as you were saying earlier, the relationship with others would affect you a lot. When I was just living at home, I didn't have any relationship with anybody, and it showed. When I did have relationship with even friends, it felt hard. I felt quite self-conscious about how I act, how I behave, and I almost felt like I was doing everything late, as in things that people have done in your teenage years or when they were younger. I was doing it now, and everything felt new and exciting. What feels boring to other people. So I do resent that from my parents or my dad, that I didn't live those years as I should have, and now I feel a bit behind. When I see someone older than me, when I see someone younger than me, I still feel I don't feel like I'm the older one. I feel like they're the oldest. When I see someone younger who's so confident and they're talking to everyone, and just the energy they carry with themselves, and I just feel that sense of inferiority that I really want to get over. And just seeing someone who's done less or lived less than me, and they just seem to know much more than I do, but then I try to remember of how I lived, and I didn't have the chance to learn a lot of things. So it's just coming to terms with all of that.
It's a real journey of discovery that you've made, in a way. It's incredible. And the restrictions that you spoke about, not being able to go to the shops on your own, not being able to be walking along the high street and all that, it's so different, isn't it?
Yeah, even when
all your peers at university must feel it's difficult to even explain what your life is like.
Yeah. When I go back home, everything is different. My whole closet is different. I wouldn't bring anything that is without any sleeves. If I wear a dress, it has to be with something not see-through underneath, leggings. So I could never bring my mom home. I don't know what I'm going to do when she comes to see where I live. How am I going to hide all of that stuff? Whether it's even to the point of just normal clothes, like summer clothes, I'll have to hide them somewhere she doesn't see it. So she doesn't see bottles of alcohol or any sign of nightlife or anything out of ordinary or anything that is not modest. So I always wonder how that's going to happen. I block all of my family members from my social media, Facebook, Instagram and everything, and I sometimes really, really fear what would happen if they found it. And I used to not post certain things with anything that will show any signs of me having gone out or dressed in a certain way. But then I just think, how long can I not do that for? And it's almost as if there's a voice in my head when I wear like a dress, and my family saying, this is not how you're supposed to dress. And if I wear something low cut or really short, I think, well, you're not supposed to be doing this. What's happened to you was wrong, but now you shouldn't be taking it this far. Dressed like people would dress here. That I'm not made like that, but then I have to figure out for myself what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, so when I send a picture to my mom, even has to be, I always make sure that I'm not in any place that shouldn't be, or even like a nose ring that she wouldn't like it. So I guess I'm always kind of performing and changing characters. And also a lot of times For some reason, I prefer not to just be in my room. And if I go out, if I drink, I'm always very self-conscious about how I'm acting, if I'm acting out of character, if I should be doing that. And even when I'm talking to people, there's always this thought, oh, is anything wrong with me, or are they accepting of me, or do they want to speak to me? And I guess everybody goes through those thoughts in their mind. But I just feel like a child still, in some ways.
It's difficult to be with people if you feel like the people you have been with have not allowed you to be you, but have put really strong impositions or their desires on you, or how they want you to be, and you have to be like that when you go to your mother or dad in another way, and you are in the hard way finding out who it is that you might be. And that's not easy to do.
Yeah, but you needed help a lot. As you said, maybe in a harsh way, but it did help. When I was giving the student life talk today, and they were asking questions, and when they ask how has your uni experience been, and people in first year, I hear them saying it's amazing, there's so many things you can do, you meet so many people, and a side of me just says this has been really shit, but I'm glad I was here. You meet a lot of people, you do amazing things come out of this, but reality was different. It wasn't actually like that. Now that I think back, I wish I'd done more things, but because I was in that relationship, I didn't let myself do other things. I stayed as isolated as possible, because that gave me a lot of happiness in that 2 days at the weekend, and that was what I looked forward to all week. So I thought, if I lose that, I literally can't survive, and it did feel like that for a long time. But I think that's why memories, it's something that memories is something that I'm quite interested in, because I think everything around me brings back memories, and it's just about creating something new, getting rid of the old. And a lot of people would not give a damn about anything, but there's not much else I have to say right now other than this, because I'm in it. So I find it difficult to do something else, because then it will be just done for the sake of it. And this is the only thing I'm actually really, really emotionally close to at the moment. And I don't know if when you make art you should be detached emotionally or not. But I find that the only way I can make it is by being emotionally involved.
Connected to it, yeah. And that's the energy in a way of it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to be able to use to work out whether it's working or not, as well, in a sense. So I think you're onto something. It is really difficult, though. It's really difficult material, and it's difficult to know how much of yourself you want, exposed.